Mark, hello. You are looking good.
Thank you, Ian. I hope I am. I bought a webcam, 1080p. How's it? You can see all my flaws, right?
I can see a few flaws. You're looking good though. You're looking HD, man.
Thank
4K
you.
even
Thank
perhaps.
you. And this no, this was the $40 model, not the 140. So that's.
With the soft touch feature. You mentioned you had a soft
No.
touch feature. So
Yeah, I
is
did
that
not.
on?
It's not on. This is raw. This is the real me.
This is the
Yes.
real you, buddy.
Yes. And in other news, you, Mr. Ian, have ordered a new computer.
I did. And due to the supply chain issues, it should arrive in no less than 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's stuck off the port in LA somewhere,
So
right?
I
On a
have
cargo ship.
I have February's calendar. I have a few X's where I'd like it to arrive, but I'm not sure. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a little jealous, honestly. Maybe I'll get one in the future. But I guess the takeaway here is audience members, we are investing in this, cold hard cash. We're spending our money on webcams, microphones, computers, etc. Right?
yes, we want to deliver a high quality product to you all, and we want you to hear us and see us in high fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the big league, so to speak. This is not AAA baseball.
No, it's
So
quadruple A. So yeah.
yeah, this is the quintuple A, if you would. So yeah, so we want to thank you guys for sticking around,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of great content in the future, a lot of high production audio and visual, and with that, Mark, share with us, if you will, our three stories, please.
Yes, sir. Tonight we have, or today, whenever you're viewing, the NFL overtime rules, hot topic for the past week. Uh,
Bingo,
the
bango.
the 40-hour work week, where it came from, what it means, and per a request from one of our loyal listeners, we're going to discuss Disney. So
Beautiful.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Ian. And this is Let's Get
Let's
Into
get
It.
into it.
They got red hair, they really don't care what they talk about. They just want to have a good time while talking online. Let's get into it.
So, overtime rules for football. So, I don't need to remind you guys that we had the privilege last week of seeing some great football. All four games decided on the
Arguably,
last play.
arguably the best weekend of football of all time. Recency
People have
bias,
said that.
perhaps, but
People have said that, and I think they're probably true. I mean, these all four games were down to the proverbial wire.
yes.
The joke being that the only thing that our poor Josh Allen could have done differently and better was call heads, right? I mean,
Agreed.
the Chiefs Bills game really highlighted the overtime rules, right? Which, as they state, as of today, the team that receives a kickoff in overtime, if they score a touchdown, boom, bang, boom, game's over, right?
That's it.
If they score a field goal, the other team gets a chance to have the ball. But as we saw, our bad luck Bills there never got a chance. The
Bad
Chiefs
luck,
scored a
Bills.
touchdown. So the common refrain from all the football heads in America is that this is unfair, right? This puts too much emphasis on winning a coin flip, which
It's
by
luck.
its nature is pure luck, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's the most pure luck example we have in our culture, right? Coin
Mm-hmm.
flip. Um, and so this brings up the fact that there's three options perhaps to change the NFL rules, right? Overtime rules. And we're going to go through all three rules and kind of give you guys a taste of what we feel like is perhaps some pros and cons. So the first common refrain you hear is the spot and choose rule, right? So this is when one team would choose the yard line where the drive starts, and the other team would choose to be offense or defense. It's a 10-minute sudden death period, and this rule takes away that coin flip.
Okay.
So what do you think about that, Mark?
Well, the easiest analogy for me is I always default to food. So basically, it's that, oh, there's one piece of cake left. So if I cut the cake, you get to choose the piece that we eat, right? That way it imposes me to be as fair as possible. I don't cut a fat slice, or in other words, I don't choose
Sure.
the
You're kind of
yard
hedging your
line
bets,
at the 10-yard line, most likely. I don't know.
right?
So that's how I think of it. The pros, it takes out the coin flip, it takes the luck,
That
right?
dreaded coin flip is gone.
It's a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess the con, it's just a little bit different than the rest of the game. That's not how we play football.
No,
Usually,
it'd be different. This is kind of a clear disjuncture. This is kind of like, okay, you played football. These are those rules. Here's this new rule just for overtime. It'd be a big change, and it's honestly, it's still a little confusing
Plus,
because it'd be so new, right?
plus it still has that sudden death element, right? So it's still
Yes.
the first score wins, game over, right?
First
Which is
score wins.
kind of the current complaint.
It does not really remedy our current complaint.
Right.
So what's the second, Mark?
All right. So that was number one. That's the
That was
slime
number one.
choose rule.
Here's number
Two is the field goal gamble. So if the NFL wants to get rid of the coin toss and replace it with an actual skill, my joke to you was basketball. Just throw the ball up in the air and see who can
jump ball.
Yeah.
Have the biggest lineman jump in the air, right?
Can't do a jump ball, I guess, in football. But we could do is the field goal gamble. So with this rule, the home team would pick a distance for a field goal, and that field goal would then decide who gets the ball first, right? And then the away team would decide which team has to attempt the field goal. Did you follow all that?
It's kind of a mouthful, but I got it.
Okay. So what do you think? Pros and cons?
So, I mean, the pros for me are, it's kind of like the first thing, but there's the field goal kick element.
So there's a skill, a football
I like
skill,
when skills
right?
brought into place, right? There's and plus there's a little bit of gambling. There's a little bit of gamesmanship, a little bit of game theory.
Yes.
Where you have to decide, are you going to go for the 70-yard field goal, which no one's going to make probably, or the 30, which is too short, maybe.
Right.
I mean, there's an element of fun and mystery. The cons, though, as you stated, it's even at its base simplest, it's kind of a mouthful still.
I would also kind of joke somewhat seriously that the field goal is the least football associated skill in the game of football, right?
Right. People are going to complain that it's still down to, one player, their foot.
Yeah.
It's kind of lucky still. And it doesn't change the fact, Mark, and we go back to this every time, that the touchdown still wins the game.
Right.
You still have potentially one team dominating the entire possession. They get the field goal, they get the ball, they score within 3 plays. Bada bing, bada boom, it's over, right?
So both these proposals have the same end result as the current rule. It's just the coin toss got changed, but it's still the ending's the same.
I think they're interesting, but here's the third one, though. Here's the
number
third
3.
one, guys. It's called the simple proposal. Simple.
Okay, I hope it's simple.
Both teams get the ball. So basically on Sunday, when Kelsey scores that touchdown, the game is not over, okay? Instead, Buffalo's offense will get a chance to also score that rebuttal. Once team have one possession each, though, the game would be sudden death. So what do you think about this, Mark?
I think of the 3, that is my personal opinion, the best option. It's the most similar to the current scenario. There's still a coin flip, but both teams get a chance. Is it an improvement over the current system? That's
debatable, obviously.
That's up for debate.
Yeah.
I think I like it. I would try it, but then again, I don't know if it's an improvement. What do you think?
I think of the 3 proposals, this is the best.
Yes.
I think it's the best mostly because it tries to emulate the college football rules, which college football is the second most popular sport after NFL football.
Maybe the most.
And people have obviously embraced this to a degree.
Yeah.
Obviously, college football, they start in like the 20-yard line. So it's more of like a little boot play.
It's not the game, it's just a play. We don't want 8 freaking overtimes, as exciting as they may be, right?
So I guess my overall take is honestly change nothing. I know that it hurts. I know that it hurts when you're the team that loses the coin flip and loses the game.
Yes.
But I mean, you had the entire time to win the game regulation, right?
Yes.
Overtime only happens if a team doesn't win.
And this happened to the Chiefs a few years ago. They were on the wrong side of the coin toss, right?
Brady,
not on the right side. So
Brady beat them. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, does it help to have the ball to start with in overtime? Obviously it helps.
Yes.
But we also see that defense wins championships.
That's what they say.
So for me, it's like in overtime, prove it.
Prove the adage.
Stop them. And then all you gotta do is kick a field goal, and then the game's over. So
I mean, the defense is gassed, but so is the offense, right?
Right. There's this whole narrative where like the game is so fast that these big offensive linemen are just completely tired. But I mean, everyone's tired. Everyone's running. Everyone's stronger. Everyone's bigger on both sides of the ball, right? I know that overtime is the proverbial, like, let's fix it, let's move on. Frankly, I don't think any of these 3 things are going to get us there. No. I think, yes, if you're going to choose one, the simple proposal where both teams get the ball moves us closer to fairness. But I mean, you can still win the game when you don't have the ball to start. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yep.
So
I guess the takeaway is, if you don't like the rule, then win the game before the 4th quarter ends.
Do whatever it takes.
All right.
I guess. Yeah. finance. Our second topic is going to be Mark and the 40-hour work week. Take it away, buddy.
Yeah, let me start with a brief history lesson. Okay, stick with me. All right.
Brief.
In the beginning, during the Industrial Revolution, it was common for people, you and me and all of our peers, to work 6 days a week, 10 to 16 hours. We're talking 100 hours per week, right? So more than double what we do right now. Okay.
Brutal.
And in 1817, almost 200 years ago, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Robert Owen had a cool phrase that I came across, which was 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, and 8 hours rest. Okay.
I mean, that math works out. That's the full day.
8, and 8, right? So this, he was a labor rights activist, and all the unions started to push for a standard 8-hour work week for decades and decades.
He also owned the mill, right?
Yes. So it's always in the best interest of the business, of course.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And in 1866, so 50 plus years after
Fast
that
forward
quote,
a bit.
the National Labor Union asked Congress to pass a law mandating the 8-hour workday. It wasn't mandated. It didn't happen, but it pushed the idea more mainstream, right?
Gotcha.
Let's go ahead another 50, 60, 70 years. And in the early 1900s, most people still worked 6 days per week, but closer to 8 hours per day instead of the 10 or 12 or 16, right?
Gotcha.
And then in 1926, 94 years ago, a strapping young entrepreneur named, guess
Henry Ford.
You got it. He's the only
Mr.
one,
Ford
right?
himself, right?
Mr.
Assembly line.
He removed 1 day from the standard work week. So
wow, what a
from
saint,
6 days to 5. Yes, he did it to be a saint, and also because he found it boosted productivity. So working 40 hours a week instead of 48 actually made him more money effectively, right?
Yeah, right.
So a few years after that, 1938, Congress passes the Fair Labor Standard Act, which required employers to pay overtime to all employees who worked more than 44 hours per week. And then 2 years later, it was amended to be 40 hours per week. Anything more than that, you had to pay overtime. So in 1940, the 40-hour work week became law.
So it's fairly new in the grand scheme of things.
Fairly new, but also in terms of U.S. history, it was a long time ago, right?
Yes.
Anyway, you see a trend over time. We went from, 100 hours a week to 8 hours a week to 40 hours a week. So in 1930, the economist Jane Maynard Keynes predicted his grandchildren would grow up in a society where technology advanced us so much that people would work a 15-hour work week.
15 hours, the entire week.
15 hours. That was predicted in 1930. And the year is 2022. Ian, how many hours do you work per week?
Not 3 hours a day.
You wish. We work 3 hours today on a Saturday, in fact.
Right. So, yeah, not even close. So
there's been lots of studies done, right? So
many, 52 perhaps.
Yes. The CDC in 2004 published a report. You still with me here? Of 52 applied psychology studies looking at this. Extended shifts, overtime, 40-hour work week. And across the board, these studies found that working more than 40 hours per week is bad, both for the employers and the employees. What do you think? What do you think they found? What do they cite?
I mean, people are more likely to get injured on the job.
Yep.
Mental health.
Yep.
Physical health.
Definitely.
They gained weight.
Mm-hmm.
They fell ill.
Yes. So
they
those
were
are
not
all
alert.
Those are all the effects of the people, but also they were less productive. So it was actually less productive for the company to have people work extra hours per week.
Right. They weren't getting anything done. It wasn't happening.
A century worth of these studies, over 50 employees, show that it's not a good thing. And then 2 years ago, Ian, 2020, enter the pandemic.
Right. So
the floor is yours. What's the experience been?
So only 6 years removed from this study that you had cited in 2014, the pandemic has changed how people and businesses, they definitely are reevaluating how people work and how much they work, right?
So it took a pandemic to make us look at this again as a society.
We are looking at it. I guess my argument here, my sort of hot take is that, people are not going to the office as much as they used to, right? Especially these knowledge workers. Mm-hmm. So the non-shopkeepers, the non-widget creators and makers, they're becoming accustomed to working remotely, at least part of the time, right?
So that's some industries, yeah.
They're splitting their time between the office and home. And everyone's talking about this is the new normal, right?
That's what they say.
Very new. I mean, if you think of the long arc of labor history, 2020 to now is the blippest of blips. So this is super new stuff. But I'm going to argue here in front of you, Mark, in front of our listening audience that yes, many of us work from home, but we aren't working less.
No.
And furthermore, we're working maybe more.
At least
because
available hours.
I think we don't have a balance right now. We have the folks that are near a smartphone and computer, which let's be frank, are most people.
Mm-hmm.
They're always working. They're always on call.
Checking
Yes,
emails.
it's possible. Yes, it's possible that they can carve out an hour in the middle of the day for a Peloton ride or a workout or for running an errand or for getting their eye appointment. Sure. But we don't know. We haven't had to work from home like this throughout basically the entire history of work. It's always been
you couldn't.
You get your mug of coffee, you get in your car, you drive in, you clock in, you do your 40 hours, and then you're off the clock proverbially, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic is changing this. I think that all the conversations about work from home really should include the fact that the 40-hour work week hasn't changed, hasn't shrunk. If anything, we're in danger of just growing it.
Yes.
Where you're basically always kind of working, always kind of not working. There's this liminal space where you're really not sure what you are, what you're doing. So, I mean, John Made Your Keys, he said this 15-hour work week. I mean, what do you think in 5 years, Mark, what does America's working look like to you?
Yeah, unfortunately, my cynical take is in 5 years from now, the pandemic is over, hopefully. And we are working, I would say, more than ever.
Yeah, I think
at least in this country, unless there is like Congress with the Fair Standards, Labor Act of 1940, unless there's legislative action, even then it's going to take 10, 15 years, right, for making a real difference, I think. It's just part of our zeitgeist, I suppose, if that's the correct term, that if I have a day off and you don't, that means you're working harder than me, right? Is that what we think?
Right, we do that. Yeah, we think that way. So, I mean, we want to hear from you guys, though. I mean, everyone's kind of dealing with this in real time. The new normal, what does it mean to you? Drop us a line. We love to hear from you. Tell us what you're doing, how you're working, and what it means to you. So, huge segue here. We're moving into the wildcard topic, right? Yes. And we hit it. We hit the top of the hour. We had a dedicated follower viewer, who wanted us to talk about Disney. Something that we said, great, this is awesome. So today what we're going to do is talk about Disney films during our childhoods, right? So
Disney is a huge scope, so we're niching it down.
We're going to really drill down on childhood Disney, our youth.
Yes.
We're 35-year-old people. So what does that look like, Mark? So what that looks like is we were lucky, man. We grew up during this Disney Renaissance, right?
I would call it the Disney-sance, if I may.
The Disney-sance, yes. For here on out, we're going to call it the Disney-sance.
Rolls off the tongue.
So it doesn't roll off the tongue super well for me, but we're going to go with it. Anyway, so what this is the greatest era in Disney movies. I mean, bar none. This is the 89 to 99, so a solid decade, where Disney produced some of their most critically and commercially successful. So both they were beloved by critics and audiences alike.
Double whammy.
And these are your films. The Little Mermaid started off 89. That was my first film I saw in theaters.
That was your first film? You know that?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I know that. Mark.
Oh my goodness! I know that. You just dropped that on me. I don't know mine.
Wow. That was 89. So
okay.
You got Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas. I mean, these are the bangers. Mulan, sorry, I mispronounced that. Tarzan. I mean, Tarzan's kind of, what's that?
I'm just trying to pronounce Hercules goofy now. So
Hercules. Yeah. So we have basically Little Mermaid and Tarzan are our bookends. Okay. That's our decade.
89,
right?
99. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some amazing pieces of cinema.
Yeah, my wife's favorite movie has always been and still is Beauty and the Beast. She's always told me that. And of course, I assume that means she's Belle, she's the beauty, which makes me question how she thinks of me. Does that make me, let's not go there.
Let's not go there, but you are looking good right now, buddy.
Thank you.
This webcam is doing you all kinds of favors.
A little haggard, but so what are your favorite films from this period?
For me, there's this moment where, like, when I just did some research on this, I couldn't believe that we had back to back bangers. We had Beauty and the Beast in 91, Aladdin 92, Lion King 94. So, within 3 quick years, we have some of the most iconic memorable characters, songs.
I mean, as we're doing this story, I can hear
incredible.
Milan's "Let's Get Down to Business" in my head, right?
You love that one,
Maybe
man.
change the lyrics
so
to,
glad.
how about this? "Let's get into it" instead. I don't know.
Let's get into it. Yeah, we could do
I'll
that.
work
We
with
could do that
that.
for next episode.
Yeah.
So you asked a good question though. What makes these movies so special?
Mhm.
I think there's 3 or 4 things, right? Great characters, super realized. Mufasa, Jafar, the Beast. I mean, they are so well envisioned.
Yes, some nice
you
flawed,
can understand
heroes,
these characters,
right? Aladdin
Yes,
is not
flawed
a
heroes.
yeah.
Fully rendered 3D characters who sang about their emotions.
Mhm.
So Disney took back. They looked at what made good musicals, and they discovered that when you sing about your emotions, when you further the plot and the narrative through these soaring operatic songs, everyone just gets super into it, right?
Yes.
So I mean, you have great characters, great songs, and then my final piece, which this one just hits me, is the backdrops. I mean, Aladdin, you have the Middle East. I mean,
the places it takes you. It's like you were exposed to a whole new world or something, right?
Couldn't have said better myself.
I'm
I mean, Lion King, Plains of Africa.
Yes.
I mean, you have Tarzan, The Jungle, Pocahontas, the New World. Like they all do a great job of like a totally different epoch in history,
Mhm.
and they just dive in. And so for me, that's kind of why I gravitate towards these movies. What about you, Mark?
I mean, you said everything. If I could jump slightly ahead to modern day, we're still getting this with some movies, like Moana and Encanto. It's the same magic for the same reasons, right?
They're doing a great job.
You don't always have to have the music. And my example was Disney Pixar's Toy Story, also incredible. But maybe it doesn't stick in your memory the same way because those songs are not playing in the back of your head, right?
I think that's fair. I mean, I think what those movies do really well, I mean, Toy Story, I mean, the characters are phenomenal. I mean, Woody and Buzz, and even like the Slinky and the Barbie, the whole panoply of characters are so lovingly rendered.
Yes.
And I mean, there's so much genuine heart and soul that goes into it. I mean, we have kids, we watch a lot of animated movies, and most of them are just completely throwaway, forgettable movies.
Yes,
there's no soul. There's nothing in there, right? I mean, we could do a whole story on Pixar itself, but I think you're right that you don't need the musicals, but man, it helps. It just everybody gets lifted up. It's just like you get moved. You're just I think it's great. So I like musicals a lot. So for me, coming of age Disney wise during the Renaissance, Disney-sance, I think it just kind of ingrained that even more deeply within me. But I'll be honest, every time there's a movie out, I mean, I will see it. I will digest it. I will try my best to like it. And Moana and Encanto are 2 examples of ones that I think do a good job. I don't know if they hit the same high notes as your Aladdin.
Time will tell. I think we have to wait 10 or 20 years, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think they're very musically based, which I think for a lot of kids and adults, I think, that's their bread and butter. That's like what they're looking for. They're looking for those jazzy songs.
Yep.
And good characters, man. Characters.
And we're not going to talk about all the sequels. We're not going to talk about live action. That's a discussion for another day.
Yes.
We're just going to remember the beauty of the Disney-sance and ask you, are we gonna drop a poll this weekend?
Yeah, so we want to ask you guys what your favorite Disney movie of the 90s is. So we'll post that. There's a lot of great options. There's going to be, I think, it'll be close, I think, Mark. I think it'll be really close.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Really close.
Definitely check out the Facebook page this week. We'll leave a link in the description.
Yes, please stay engaged. Below. We will be right there with you.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? No, any final thoughts on Disney?
Final thoughts? I mean, I think that the one thing that we both agree on is the live action movies are kind of a waste of resources.
Yeah. Make something original, please.
Make something original. I mean, you have the talent. You have the people that are, I think, really interested in making new material.
Yeah.
Do it. I mean, let's let them do it. It's a disservice to the old stuff. None of the live actions hold a candle to the new stuff, or to the old stuff, rather. Definitely. And I don't think, Mark, that'll change. I don't think it'll change.
No.
To the recaps.
Okay. NFL overtime. Everyone deserves a second chance. Let both teams touch the ball, but also just win the game in 60 minutes, please. Right?
Just do your job.
Yeah.
Just do your job.
Number 2, work and society evolve, but our grandchildren will still be working more than 15 hours per week in the future. Sorry, Mr. Keys. And finally, great content lives forever, just like in this podcast. So what do you think? Should we do a musical?
Are you
for
saying
episode
that
10?
we're going to be doing a musical number next time?
Maybe. I don't know.
Just
No
to
promises.
ingrain ourselves in the memories of our fans. Maybe.
We'll see how much engagement we get on that poll, I guess.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Ian, where can our audience find us?
So, as some of you guys know, which we are very, very grateful for, we're on YouTube, Spotify, and we're going to post throughout the week. So, look on Facebook, check out for some posts, some polls, some new things. We want to hear from you guys, though. Today we had a great story, we hope, on Disney that came from a viewer. And most importantly, if you like this content, tell someone about us. Let them know that we exist. And we're here for you guys.
All those cliches, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate it. We're trying to grow. So
smash that button, man.
Yeah.
So this has been. Let's get into it.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The content in this podcast is not intended to be a research report, financial, or life advice, and does not constitute an endorsement of any product, service, individual, or organization.